A touch of sweetness. Chapter 7. Can he or can he not? However, there was no time to think over what she had felt. Not daring to look Finnick in the eyes again, she rushed for the bathroom. Slamming the door shut, she leaned back against it, with her heart thumping in her chest rapidly. That was too close. Just a little bit more, and just the thought of what could have happened scared her. At the same time, she was a little puzzled. We're officially married, so technically us doing that is normal and within reason. Is it mean of me to run off like that? Even as she wondered this, the dangerous look in his eyes flashed past her mind again. She could not help the shiver that had run down her spine. This was only the third time that she and Finnick had seen each other. She could not accept them having sexual relations, after only knowing each other for such a short period of time. Nevertheless, taking into account his earlier reaction, did that mean that her male colleagues had been wrong? Finnick had been affected, just like any other normal man. So, did that mean that he was not affected at all in that way, despite being crippled? Realizing where her thoughts were heading, she mentally slapped herself. Vivian William, what are you thinking? Why do you care about whether those functions of his are normal? The only reason that you demarried him was to get in the household register of Sunshine City. Stop thinking about all this other nonsense. Though, there was one thing that was very strange. When she had fallen into Finnick's lap earlier, she had accidentally touched his legs. She had always thought that wheelchair-bound people would have thin, weak legs, from not being able to use their muscles. Oddly enough, his legs were actually quite firm. They were nothing at all like how a crippled man's legs should be. Knock, knock. The sudden rapping on the bathroom door had cut through her chaotic thought processes. Nearly jumping out of her skin, Vivian lifted her head to stare at the door. What? Open the door. Finnick's deep voice called out from the other side. Her heart leapt to her throat as it threatened to crawl out of her mouth. Open the door. Why? Recalling the lustful look in his eyes earlier, her fingers gripped the countertop harder, as her imagination ran wild. Since Finnick did not get a reply from her, he spoke up again. You dropped something. At such words, her thoughts screeched to a halt, as she soon hesitated. Several moments later, she approached the door and opened it up a tiny sliver. A fine bone hand appeared, with a fluffy white towel. Vivian was taken aback. You were looking for this earlier, weren't you? That's why you had come out. There was a barely noticeable note of laughter in his tone, causing her to blush brightly. Thank you, she murmured while accepting the towel. She hastily closed the door after that. When she was done drying and dressing, she exited the bathroom to see Finnick already dressed in navy blue silk pajamas. He was sitting on the bed, with his laptop on his legs. His fingers flew across his keyboard rapidly, as he seemed engrossed with whatever he was doing. This scene had Vivian's curiosity rearing its head again. She had thought that with him having difficulties getting around, he would have had a lot more servants to care for him. Yet, there were only Molly and Liam in this entire house to look after his needs. It is strange that he does not have a personal caretaker. How did he get on the bed himself? Doesn't he have to shower? Unable to restrain herself anymore, she asked. Hey, do you need to take a shower? I've already showered, was his simple reply. And here I was, worried that he would have trouble cleaning himself. Yet he has already showered. Wait a minute. He has bathed somewhere else, other than here. Does that mean that he has another woman on the side? The random, ridiculous thought had her scoffing at herself mentally. Truthfully enough, she would not have minded it if he really did have someone else. She made her way towards the desk, planning on packing the things that she would need for work tomorrow. A glint caught her eye and she saw that it was the ring that she had taken off before she had gone into the bathroom. She paused, having forgotten about the pair of rings that she had bought earlier today. Back then, She had not known that her husband was a billionaire and president of such a powerful company. Hence, she had bought the most simple design that she had been able to find. Now, it would seem as though the ring was absolutely unbefitting of a man of his stature. With this thought in mind, she snuck a glance at the man on the bed. Satisfied that he was focused on his work, she quickly stuffed her own ring into her bag. She then dug out the ring that was meant for him and stuffed it into one of the dressing table's drawers. Only after that did she crawl into bed. To her immense relief, the bed was rather spacious, with 2 sets of bedding and pillows. Sitting on her side of the bed, there was still half a meter between them. "You done?" Finnick questioned when he sensed her settling down. He did not even look away from his screen. "Yeah." She eyed his screen inquisitively. She knew that his company had mainly dealt with financial bonds. The red and green graphs dominating the screen made absolutely no sense to her, so she gave up trying to understand. "Shall we sleep?" The man's head abruptly tilted slightly, so that he could glance at her from the corner of his eyes. "Sure." Less than a minute later, Finnick shut down his laptop and turned off the bedside lamps. As darkness encompassed the room, Vivian grew nervous. Even now, she had no idea why he had wanted to marry her. Thus, she did not know if he would be engaging in sexual relations with her. She continued to lie there stiffly, as the minutes ticked by. Eventually, Finnick's breathing evened out and she could finally relax. Within seconds, she had fallen into a deep slumber. The next morning, Vivian's phone alarm rang on time and she woke up. Finnick was already gone. The space beside her empty and cold. It did not take her long to go through her morning routine. Putting on a light layer of makeup, she headed downstairs. She was only at the staircase when she smelled the delicious aroma of breakfast. Molly was bustling around the kitchen when she noticed Vivian. A warm smile bloomed on her face as she greeted. "Mistress Norton. You awake? Come, have some breakfast." "Okay. Thank you." Finnick was already seated at the dining table. One hand held up a newspaper while the other lifted up his mug to take a sip. When Vivian's gaze landed on his slender fingers, her eyes brightened in shock. Welcome to download Joyread app to read more chapters of A Touch of Sweetness novel online.